Hello everybody, my name is Mathis and welcome back to some more Lost Initiative action. Last announcement episode, that hour-long spiel about the show coming out, we actually went into something we were calling war stories towards the end, and you guys loved it. You were talking all about your D&D experiences, and we decided, before the actual live show goes live in a week now, I think, when this episode ends up going live, we'll do one more war story. Scott wanted to sit down and talk about another character or two, depending on what who we wanted to talk about. And I said, that's a great idea, Scott. That's why I brought you on board, so you can run this shit, because I don't want to. So, welcome to War Stories Round 2, and welcome back, Scott. Now you got a brand new microphone stand. You look a little more professional. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Trying to upgrade for you, Michael. I mean, Mathis.
I still, to this day, people will tweet me and be like, wait a minute, your name's not Mathis? And I'm like, no, my name is not Mathis. It is Mike.
So ultimate lame. I just found on Twitter for the first time, your father's Twitter handle is Mathis Dad.
My dad is, I love my dad. He's so awesome. He's so proud of everything I've done that, like, he jumped on Twitter, made Mathis Dad, and he's just like, every morning I wake up to my phone blowing up to him favoriting every single tweet I did the day before, and I tweet a lot.
Hey, listen, your dad's cool.
I love my dad.
Mathis Dad.
Listen, he's not look, he's cool, not creative. It's different. Yeah. But yeah, so my name's Michael, for those who didn't know that, but I feel like it's pretty common knowledge at this point. Yeah. Anyway, we are going to talk about another character in this long list of characters that I've played. At least while we're doing war stories with me and you, Scott, it'll be, my characters for the most part, because Scott's characters, they just never last long enough to talk about.
Thanks. I think the best reason to talk about this in particular character is because while you were like really gearing up all your YouTube and everything that you were doing, you were starting these Friday wraps. I had literally never seen one of them before. Most of us had never really watched them, just because, I mean, it's a vlog. I actually would spend time with you, so it was kind of, I was there. So I stumbled across one of them one time, and I was like, wait, what? You talk about our sessions?
Yeah, man.
Like, it completely blew my mind, and it was this character that I'd seen several of your Friday wraps about this character. So I was like, what the hell? Let's do the first one. Let's do this one.
And like I was saying before we even started the video up, it's a good example of you as a DM adapting to a player who just never goes the way you expect it to go. So we'll let me lay the groundwork of who this character is. If you watched my old Friday Raps, if you're a longtime viewer, you know who I'm talking about. But his character name was Anvari, and he was he was a wild mage for.
So I really, out of all the types of wild mages that I've seen done throughout the different editions, so my favorite one was the one that you really saw around Advanced Dungeons & Dragons time. So I took the spirit of that one because it was the most dangerous one out of all of them, and just kind of modified that to, at the time we were playing Pathfinder, which was, we even altered Pathfinder, so you still could have called it 3-Point Scott like a lot of you guys did, and just try to like turn it into that rule system utilizing the old spirit of the real wild mage.
Yeah.
Which 5th edition actually tried to do and did a half.
Did they? I didn't even know that they did a wild mage in 5th.
It's actually, the depressing part of it is in 5th ed, that it's actually a core version of the mage. Like, so if you play a sorcerer, wild mage is one of the core sorcerers. That means like 1 in every 3 sorcerers you come across is going to be wild magic.
That's unfortunate because
it takes the fun away. It takes the spirit from it.
So yeah, for those who don't know what a wild mage is, at least in the version that we played, basically the idea was I was a spellcaster who had little control over his powers. He was kind of a fountain of raw energy. Every time he casted a spell, it could go off normally like a normal spell could, or one of X different things could happen instead. It could make the spell more powerful. It could make the spell go out of control. The spell could fizzle and never happen. The spell could come out as a different spell altogether. That unpredictability was at the core of my character, and it was one of the reasons I wanted to play this particular character, because when I create characters, I think of like a character concept, and then I try and find a class that fits that concept. And Anvari was the idea for him was a magical anomaly, something like he could tap into his powers but didn't know where he got them from, didn't know why he had them, and couldn't really control them, never was really educated in them. And Wild Mage, for me, was the best fit, but because the Wild Mage rules were old and out of date, Scott was forced to update them which is always fun to force Scott to take rules and update them to fit what I want to play, because it's like weeks of work for him. But he's just that dedicated.
Oh man, my favorite was the time that Dave and I sat around for hours and hours, and then me by myself, and then he was like, not gonna play this one.
That happened a lot with him too, didn't it? Like there was a lot of like times where he was like this cool concept, but once you guys kind of like hashed out how the rules would work, they like didn't fit exactly how he would have hoped or anything.
I'll complain, but it's my crack. So
yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
It's not that much of a complaint.
It's like video games are to me what D&D is to you, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So, but either way, to Invari, So you want to set up the character?
So yeah, he was in the beginning, like I said, he kind of, I played a little bit of a cliche in that basically his history was that he woke up in an alley, I think, one day with like dead bodies around him, has no memory of what happened. There's like evidence of a fight, and just like has no idea what happened. He doesn't, does he know his name? I can't remember if he knew his name. I don't think he did. Okay, so he knew his name.
Classic amnesia. I know who I am, but nothing about me.
Exactly. So. And he went about that way, and that's when I was introduced to the party that way. So I kind of went in with this blank slate. But the reason I did that is because I knew what I wanted to do for a personality, but I didn't want to know my history. And I didn't write a history, and I didn't do anything with my history. I left that up to Scott completely. I wanted to be surprised and intrigued with it, but I also knew I could enjoy the personality of the character with his powers in the way that it was presented with Amnesia, but Wild Mage. And it made for the characters, the parties that I was playing with also have interest in my character in that they could like research him and try and help him or figure it out. So there was a lot there. As time went on, do we want to spoil the whole thing? Do we want to come back to this character?
Yeah. Let's just start with the character and his interaction with the world, which, by the way, we're playing in Eberron.
Correct.
Another if you're not familiar with Eberron, it's semi-steampunky, high magic without being extremely powerful magic. So it's like if you had a coat rack that can magically take all the dirt off of your coat. Almost everybody with any form of wealth had that sitting in their room. They had, shoe racks.
They industrialized magic.
Yeah, industrialized magic. Yeah, but the extreme magic, so you get like, say, a Faerun, not so much.
Right. I like to think of Eberron as like, what if the technology of the gnomes of World of Warcraft went through the entirety of the world? Because that's essentially what gnomes do in WoW. It's just really weird that the gnomes, like, it doesn't spread beyond the gnomes. Like, everybody else still, like, lives in tents and huts, but the gnomes have, like, machines working on magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eberron's weird in that, like, the highest level characters will be, like, level 20, where, like, in Faerun, level 40-something heroes walk the earth. It's really strange. But yeah, we played in Eberron, and that's the grassroots of the character. He was an amnesiac with, like, powers he couldn't control, who operated with very low wisdom, which is not surprising, who was picked up by a party that, because of their kind heart, protected me. And I appreciate it for them. I appreciate that.
I think the person that you as a PC and your character Invari owe the most thanks to would be Claire, played by...
we got so close.
Yeah. Claire was played by my future sister-in-law, and Claire was... she was a paladin of the Silver Flame, so she was lawful good to the obnoxious degree, as your classic paladin is.
Yeah.
That character was very much an extension of like what is it, Brienne of Tarth? Is that her name?
I think that's a good like analogy.
Yeah, very, very like large, strong, back off men, I'll break you for being man.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that was her.
And she was the one that kind of took you under her wing and took care of you and protected you. And then there was our buddy Dave, who we mentioned a bunch of times, was playing Isaac, the illusionist. Oh my God. If you want to play a broken character, Pathfinder, illusionist. Holy crap, the rules are so big.
That was the campaign where we realized in Pathfinder, illusionists can do... They are just gods. They just can do anything.
Arguably, he made that game more difficult than Invari did with his chaos. His order made your chaos seem like nothing sometimes.
With Pathfinder 2 being so well written, it's so weird that Illusionist was so open.
Yeah, and then there was the fourth character. Honestly, I can't remember who it was. But to be fair, the person playing that character, it's my little brother, he played like 4 characters in that campaign because he just kept getting bored. He has, what is it?
Character, he's an altaholic.
Yeah, altaholic. So I think it was like a scion, and then it was like the spearmaster of the one of the third parties made a Pathfinder like market, whatever. Eventually, he played an undead fighter. He just changed so many times; it's really hard to nail down what he was. But either way, lots of fun.
Yeah.
So you were talking about the character and having to react. So the fun thing about Anvari is, oh man, God, he was a sorcerer, right?
Yeah, I think he was. He was a sorcerer, so I didn't have to prepare.
We all dreaded 6th level because what do you get access to at 6th level in Pathfinder?
Fireball.
Fireball.
Which I will put out there. I didn't want to take Fireball. It was the party that convinced me to take Fireball.
No. Okay, what was the quote that I think Dave coined that quote, and it was why Fireball when what was it? What a scorching ray will suffice.
True. Very, very true.
You're like, I'm aggravated that I can't get the deal I want in this tavern. Fireball.
I was never like that. Come on.
Sure.
I wasn't. All right. Listen. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stories of like you as the DM presenting obviously an open-ended option with pretty logical decisions that we can make. It could go one of a million different ways. And then Anvari being kind of a wild card. The thing with Anvari is he was good. He wasn't neutral. He was a good character, but he was chaotic good. So he did what he thought was right without thinking about talking to the party first. And I think the most there's a lot of classic examples of Anvari being stupid, but the one I want to talk about, because I think the one that has a lot of meat, is there was at one point a mystery. I can't remember what the mystery was, but I'm getting to the conspiracy theory that he bubbled up into his brain. Because it's so hard to build up to. What was the mystery that we were trying to figure out? That I'm trying to remember what the mystery was that we were trying to put together. That had something to do with the person Claire was marrying. You know what I'm talking about? 'Cause I'm trying to get to the point where eventually. So what happened? There was something we were trying to figure out.
So her name was Lady Claire Ursarin.
Yeah.
IR prefacing people of
royalty.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So Lady Claire Ursarin was her name. Her father was a extremely high noble from one of the countries there, whose name, as always, eludes me. It doesn't matter. It's the Ondare, I think it is. Yeah, Ondare.
Yeah, that sounds right.
From Ondare, it's one of the old nobles, and her family has long history of ties to House Deneath, which is like the Mark of the Sentinel. They're all about law, order, so on and so forth. It's actually my favorite house in Eberron, and she has a lot of ties to them. And so her father is more or less saying, I wanted a son. I got a couple. They all died during the war. I'm stuck with you.
Yeah.
So since you're going to be the successor of my house, you're marrying the way I tell you to. And she was like, you're a man. I break men because I'm Brianna Tarth. And so there was this like ongoing thing back and forth. And so the father was actually, and this is, I had him do a lot of little RP moments with characters in the party side by side because he was a big benefactor of the party due to his daughter. Where he was manipulating every one of the party members in little ways, trying to convince, like to push her towards marrying this one in particular guy because he was realistically supposed to be good for her, good for the family, good for the country. Like legitimately a good guy is what he's being sold as. But of course, Anvari is a bit chaotic and thinks that he's crazy. Now, whether or not that's true doesn't matter at this point. But Anvari is like, no, this man's evil and he's going to take my friends. But
there was some political conspiracy that I thought I broke down so basically we're building up, I'll spoil the punchline so I could tell you like the thought process.
Yeah.
Is that basically Anvari had convinced himself that the mother of the man that she was to marry was involved.
She was a bitch.
She was mean.
Yeah.
But Anvari had convinced himself in some way that she was the head of this weird conspiracy and that she was at fault for doing something. And I can't.
Okay, so once again, ruining punchlines behind the scenes even further. One of the things that he was trying to do was once again push forward so he himself, before he died, wanted the legacy of the Ursarin family to continue pushing forward the legacy of Ondare, being the country he's from. And so he actually manipulated Dave's character, Isaac, into like utilizing illusions to manipulate a battlefield and take lands from Karnath and so on and so forth. And so there actually was this huge surmounting conspiracy part of my big story arc. It was like this mini arc within the timeline of the big story arc. And And so there was, in fact, a conspiracy. You were completely correct. Actually, I was afraid that you had completely deduced the entire conspiracy and you're going to ruin everything along my timeline. And you're going to like re-manipulate Dave's character, which I was already like doing so well at manipulating. But
this was an interestingly so like this was a really interesting campaign, and that was way more political than any other campaigns I'd played with you. It was the
most poly-intrigue game that we've ever played,
which was great.
Yeah.
What I distinctly remember is that one day I called you on the phone, and I was in this office. I was talking to you on the phone about the campaign, and I was telling you my thought process about why I believe this woman was at the middle of it all. I blamed her for being manipulative and evil, basically. And I was going through my thought process, and in my mind, and of course in Anvari's mind, because that's kind of who I'm using to think, but in my mind as well, it made sense. The problem is, because you're a DM, you weren't telling me yes or no. So I took that as, I've got it. I'm correct. I know exactly what I'm doing. So in the next session, I went to this woman and I had a meeting with her away from the party. I never told the party I was doing this because I was like, I'm going to fix everything right now. Because if I was a more intelligent character, I still maybe would have put that together, but I would have talked to the party about it first. But like, here's my theory. What should we do? Yep. But I'm like, I'm on Vari. Here's what I think I figured out.
I'm going to interrupt you to defend you for a second. It was also that you knew the party was being manipulated by EA Nursery.
That is correct. I knew at least Dave was deeply in the pockets of this other guy.
And obviously Claire, while refuting pretty much anything her father said off the cuff, you knew that he weighed on her soul because it's her father.
Yes.
And despite how much of a manipulator, he was actually based very much off of Tywin Lannister. So you were like, okay, this is Tywin Lannister. Like it doesn't matter how much she refutes, she's still in his pocket. You know what I mean?
Correct.
She shoots him in the chest of the crossbow while he's on the shitter. In his pocket, right?
That's true. So I went away from the party. I was like, I'm going to fix this and I'm going to come back a goddamn hero. Anvari was, in his mind, he's like, I'm going to fix this all like that. And when I come back, people are going to be so happy. So I went for this meeting. I talked to her for a little bit because I wanted to try and get out of her a confession before I did it. But she didn't have any class. She just was a politician. She was a master politician. So she just talked circles around me constantly, never giving me an answer, never confirming or denying anything I was accusing her of. And Anvari basically got sick of it and he fireballed her.
In her home with 2 dragon-marked bodyguards standing there.
And her son, who became horribly burned afterward.
Oh, that's right. He was there and he got crispified.
Yes.
Oh, man, that was terrible.
So Anvari, in his mind, was like, I'm just going to fix everything. Why? Like, cut the head of the snake off. Let the body will die. I will just take care of this. And I fireballed her, and, like, I did really good damage. She died.
Because part of the wild mage, the way that we did it, is when you're a wild mage, you rolled a die to see what your actual caster level was. So your caster level, let's say you were level 8. Your caster level was 7 plus 1d6.
Correct.
No. It was 6 plus 1d6.
Yeah, so I think it's a little lower.
But 2 it was even, and the rest was higher. It was very much in your favor. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I fireballed her. I rolled really well, did a ton of damage. She died. He almost died, and the guards must have died because I didn't get stopped there. I left. So basically, I fireballed them, killed everybody. I thought, in my mind, I killed everybody, left. And I think I did that before the official session. So when all the players showed up and we sat down for a session, it opened with, okay, so something happened while you were like all asleep or something, or whenever I ended up going. And
Well, to set that up, out of game, you live like 2 hours from me.
Yes.
And you would drive 2 hours every week to come and hang out at my house. Usually I was at work, so you would get here and hang out at my house for a while before I got home. So you and I would actually get like a solid hour of chatting time before the other players showed up.
Yeah.
Hence why this happens.
Yes. Yeah, because it was easier to beat traffic that way for me and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody came in, everybody sat down, and the bomb was dropped on them. And I remember, the thing I remember Dave doing, the only thing I remember of everybody sitting down is he just goes, and he just is like, what? And I was like, don't worry, I fixed it. Everything's fixed. It's fine.
No, guys, I did good. I did good.
And then, little did I know, Scott, that was not the way that Scott had it in his mind. That's not how the politics were playing out. And I murdered somebody who was maybe a bitch, but she also like was innocent of everything I was accusing her of. And that sent the campaign in a wildly different direction that Scott and I was not prepared for, and it sent my character down a path that would end really coolly and really interestingly later on.
Which I'm sure if we actually go back to your old Friday Wraps, you'd be able to see that, but that takes some digging. So
oh yeah, you
definitely
definitely
that story for another time, I think, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, what happened in the trials and all that stuff.
Oh, the trials at Thronehold and all that.
But
oh, man.
I'm curious as to you, Scott, when I did that, what, because were you prepared for me to go that route when I showed up that day?
With Envari, I'm never prepared for the route that you go. But to be fair, again, with all my campaigns, I have bullet points.
Yeah.
And so long as I can hit all those bullet points, I'm happy. So when you went that route, it completely like blew up what was immediately happening in that situation. But overall, you didn't actually eliminate any of my bullet points. And even more than that, you're nearly killing that character. And you rolled damage, and I didn't cheat or anything like that. I didn't like DM magic it. You almost killed that character. He's brought to negatives, but not actually killed. That actually sparked a legitimate love between
That's true.
Claire and him. His slow healing process and being hospitalized and going through what house is that? The House of Healing there, the halflings.
I don't remember.
Jarasco?
Yeah, Jarasco. That sounds right.
So going through that and the slow healing process, and then eventually Isaac having to make magic items to hide his scars, so he always seems stronger, and through illusions, like it made so much more plot, and so you took everything and blew it apart, and in doing so, as it healed, it became so much more intertwined.
Except for my character, I blew up my character's storyline.
Absolutely, and once again, if it wasn't for Claire, it would have been the end of Envari. You owe everything to that damn lawful good paladin.
She was great.
Who had this hole in her heart where she was just like, I feel as though the silver flame has a purpose for your being here.
She did.
The reason why you fell into my life.
Yep. There was a lot of times where she would, like, at one point, small things where, like, I was under, like, trial. I don't remember if this was before or after, but I had handcuffs on me and it was just her and me. And she had to, like, trust me enough to take the handcuffs off of me, so that, like, in case shit went down, and she did, and she just basically kept me under her wing 24/7, no matter how much I fucked up. And Envari fucked up a lot.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
So often. But I loved that character as well because of that option. Like, James, as we talked about in the last episode, he went off the rails, but he had a predictability about him. Like, you knew what he was going to do for the most part. Like, there are things that maybe he'd be like, oh, that's weird, I didn't think you're gonna go that way, but he operated on his own code in a lot of ways. Yes. Anvari did not.
Yeah, I think the important thing about Anvari, like you said, chaotic good. Anvari was good for the sake of good, damn the consequences. While James had his own code while being neutral, then later on good, Anvari was, I just want to help people.
Yeah.
Damn the consequences or any form of thought going into it. Two very different characters.
I mean, one little example before we decide to, like, set and wrap this up is I remember Anvari early on, freaking scorching Ray, a general on the mountaintop.
Oh man!
Because there was a general who was being a dick.
I talk about Haldren, the flame sorcerer.
I think so.
Yeah. He was.
You go with that one because I just remember killing him.
No, that's fine. He was Haldren as the Flame Sorcerer. So if you actually look inside the Eberron books, you'll be able to find this character, level 12 Flame Sorcerer, who was I'm going to make Ondera win this the last war, damn the consequences. So he's I think lawful evil or whatever. So he was I will burn villages to capture two people that are stuck inside them. So later on, it turned out that he wasn't actually who you thought he was. He was a sort of symbiote that like carried the spirits of him and his power. I'm not going to go into the monster manual and all that, but you found out that the real him and the him that you were facing were two very different things, different plot. But yeah, you attacked him on a mountaintop, and it was funny because you actually used fire magic. So.
That's true. I definitely did.
Yeah. But
I think I missed my first attack too. That was scary.
Well, also the symbiote that was on him eventually moved on. again, different time. Hey, listen, we do have to wrap this up because of time, of course. But the thing I want to say here is, once again, you're giving a big shout out to me as a DM that reacts to situations, and I always appreciate that. But I write 1/3 the story. Everybody else writes the other 2/3, and it wasn't just me that reacted to the situations. It was also the other party members. The way that they had to handle Anvari literally going off the handle and blowing things up. Again, the quotes that Dave coins. Why fireball when a scorching ray will suffice?
It's so true. That's so true. It was great, man. And that party was so much fun. And there's a lot of stories that we can get to at some point. But yeah, I thought he would be a good example as to like adaptability, because I think in D&D adaptability is key. And if you cannot adapt to your players, then you're going to have a hard time DMing. And if the players can't adapt to other players, they're also going to have a hard time. So absolutely. It's really fun. We do plan on doing more war stories. We're going to talk about how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it. This will be going up, I believe, exactly 1 week from the first episode. So from 1 week from you guys watching this, over at twitch.tv/Lost Initiative Show, from 6 p.m. PST to 9 p.m. PST, which is 9 to midnight EST. We'll be playing our first session. Scott will be DMing. We've already got our characters pretty much all set. We're ready to go. And I hope you guys are excited. Scott, I hope you're excited.
Absolutely.
And if you want to find Scott, it's right up. I'm pointing at it. His name's right there, at Dale Rick on Twitter. You can go find him there and tweet at him and tell him, I don't know, how great of a DM he is. Thanks, Scott, for coming on. Appreciate it. Yeah, and we'll see you guys in a week. Bye-bye.